One of the things I always say to customers when the deal's done, it's no longer a competition. It's now a joint effort between the two parties. And it's very easy to underestimate the amount of work and effort that a client has to go to in order to make a BPO engagement successful. People have learnt about this over the years, and it's become a little less frustrating. It's really important that during the transition phase, as much gets shared as possible. And then during the lifetime of the contract, we're working very, very closely together so that we really understand what the business drivers are for the customer, and we can build them into the engagement. Customers are now outsourcing for more than just cost saving. And so if we really understand what they're doing and what their strategy is, then we can really help them generate some new value. But it does mean during the life of the contract, there are things that they do need to do in order to be successful. And one of the opportunities that they have is to capitalize on what a BPO partner can bring from lots of different domain expertise and go upstream in the process. And if they'll make that available to us, that works really well for both parties. One of the big opportunities for customers engaging with BPO providers now is to really capitalize on the use of technology. It's no longer just an outsource of process, but the introduction of technology really can add significant improvements in efficiency and effectiveness. You know, the company I work for, in common with many others, has a deep technology background. And joining those two together and not having them separate, as has been the case in the past, really is, I think, the route forward for real transformational deals for BPO. If I look at some of the things that I've been involved in over the last 5 years, the value has come not only in how to really improve process, but how to take out people steps and really introduce technology to get consistency, and then you can use the people for the real value-adding part of the process. I coined a phrase a little while ago, what's BPO all about for me? And it's not about just cost saving, it's about releasing entrepreneurial capacity. If you look at what customers are having to do all day, there are many things which could be replaced by technology steps, which then would free up the customer side of the team to really do things that their shareholders want them to do. And in particular, if you're in a finance function, it should now be a situation where you could tick the box and say, I can get my accounts payable done, I can get my accounts receivable done. I really want to be using my people to really look at financial planning and analysis so that I can support strategy. I spent the first 10 years of my career as a guy negotiating contracts. And it's a very, very important part of the sales cycle. It's very easy to forget, once all the sexy visits have been done, that there is actually a contract to be written. And it's important that both parties take a view across the contract, not silo by silo clause, so that you can see the totality of the deal that you're expecting to do. People like to say, I want to put the contract in the bottom drawer and only get it out when you're in trouble. But you need to know what that looks like, what trouble will be, how escalations and governance will be managed. And it's very easy to forget that at your peril. For me, we invest an awful lot of time and effort in that stage of the sales process, and it does pay dividends. Writing statements of work very carefully so that both parties really understand the responsibilities that they've got to bring to the table. Now, disappointments happen. Contracts go on for some years. The people who are involved at the beginning were not necessarily the people that are involved at the end. So doing those things up front and getting them well enshrined is, to my mind, critical, and particularly for long-running deals, I think it's the key responsibility of the original parties to get that right. We're seeing an awful lot more now in the market from customers who are saying, I've done BPO before, or I know how BPO goes. I'm going to assume that my procurement team is going to find a number of people who are going to be capable of delivering my BPO services. But as a COO or a CEO, I want much more than that. And if you look in customer interactions, and if you look in utilities around what's coming out in new smart metering, if you look in regulated markets, customers want to see more than just cost saving. They're looking at the lifetime value of their customers who now have great options. Regulation has enforced competition, particularly in energy and telecom businesses, as I've said. So if you can get a partner who can really take the data that comes from this, turn that into useful information with analytical tools, then you can start to drive real improvements in value for the company, which go much beyond the original labour arbitrage saving that you might have done for the contract first off.